Hello, my name is Nancy Love, and I'm making this video for the Planet Peace Project. As some of you may know, I used to want to be called the Planet Peace Woman, and now I fully expect to be called Justifiably Outraged Love. That's because for about 15 years I have been battling human trafficking internationally, and most of these people who are selling slaves, humans like you and your children, are also selling all manner of drugs, fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, all these deadly things. And they are running weapons illegally. These are the same people selling fentanyl to your high school kids that could kill them, are selling children to pedophiles. They're the Jeffrey Epsteins and the Ghislaine Maxwells of the world. And they are selling guns to people who might shoot up your children's school. So these are obviously the lowest forms of life on earth: drug dealers, slave runners, and weapons dealers, illegal. And these people are what I call trash slime. Yeah, and I used to be a really nice person. And they have no right to life. They have absolutely no right whatsoever to the space they take up on this world, because they sell your kid to someone who would not only abuse it in horrifying ways, unspeakable ways, but some of these people are trading in human body organs. And when I got into this fight with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and my dear friends James Comey and Christopher Wray, when I got into this, dear friend Christopher Wray, when I got into this fight with Los Angeles Police Department, including Charlie Beck and my dear friend Michael Moore, when I got into this fight with the Drug Enforcement Agency, and because they're interested in this from two ways, and they want to interdict heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, and all that garbage, all that trash. But they're also very, very interested in street drugs and remarketed drugs, remarketed pharmaceuticals illegally being used for sexually facilitated, drug facilitated sexual assault, DFSA. They are very, very interested in drugs like GHB, rohypnol, the fentanyl, the various drugs that can sedate to rape, and drugs like scopolamine, which affect the judgment and memory of a victim. And I call it cognitively compromised. And I am going to make a series of videos over the course of the next several months or year. And that will be much more detailed with research that I can show you with links and all. I did my graduate work in behavioral medicine and psychology. I had all the anatomy, physiology, biochemistry classes and all that stuff, and psychology to boot. And what I found out when I investigate the side effects of these drugs makes me so angry I could go off on these people like a... And do you know that GHB, one of the most popularly used drugs by criminal filth, as I said, slime filth, to commit an unholy violation, to violate a sacrament called sexual choice and love, to violate the sacrament that should be love? That's a floor stripper. The same thing that people are slipping into people's beverages, food, and this can include your roommate. This doesn't happen to people who've never been into a bar or a nightclub in their entire life might move in with some stranger from Craigslist or God only knows and end up drugged and raped. And what these people are doing is using a floor stripper. When they're finished dosing you to victimize you sexually, they could go ahead and clean their floors to re-wax them with that same stuff. That's what they think of you when they do that to you. These people use both male and female victims as what I call sperm tunes, spittoons for sperm. And some of them, on the other hand, are women. I have run out of the ability to count the number of human females who have confessed to me or bragged to me. Yeah, some of them are proud of themselves and they've got no right to anything but shame that they are involved in these rape rings, and they either drug other women and sometimes men in order for other people to sexually assault them, or they participate fully in the whole event, drugging to facilitate sexual assault, which they also commit as lesbians on women and as sexual predators on men. So there you are with that. I have made several videos, and I have had people. I had an 18-year-old victim of human trafficking recently just cry her eyes out. And she said that she had learned so much from me, and she was so grateful. And do you know, that very night she filed charges on her abuser, the man who sold her to be raped? Do you know that man was her father? Yeah. He also beat his wife the night she complained about it. Um, so what I'm going to be doing here, I've decided I'm a woman on a mission. GHB it's renowned for coma. GHB, some idiot slips that into your food. Massive, massive numbers of people slip into comas and some never come out. GHB is a deadly thing, and people will use it on you to exercise their lust. And keep in mind, lust is a form of sexual greed. It's a form of greed. It's not yours. You're not supposed to want it. You're not supposed to take it without permission. But rape is a form of greed. And it needs to stop because, as we all know, greed is the absolute source of all the evil and criminality in the whole world. If we all figured out that enough is enough, we all wouldn't be hurting each other so badly and having wars for scarce resources, because guess what? Resources would not be that scarce now. If we were a species smart enough to learn how to share the world with one another as well as other forms of life hereupon. But no, instead we cause mass extinction and rape each other. How smart is that, really? How smart is that? Viagra. Someone told me recently that he had been drugging a woman without her knowledge with Viagra. I looked at that today because I'd never even thought about a woman taking that Viagra on purpose or even having it accidentally slipped into her system. And I wondered what on earth that would do to a lady. And it turns out one of the things it can do is cause a rhinitis. And I happen to know that the person he's been drugging without her knowledge or permission with Viagra, of all things, has sinus issues, had head injury years ago, and has some issues somehow with her sinuses to where sometimes she leaks cerebrospinal fluid out of her nose because their sinuses are damaged. Okay, so cerebrospinal fluid is supposed to be surrounding your cranium and your spine with a fluid that guards it against immune malfunction and cells that aren't supposed to get into the spine. It's called the blood-brain barrier. It has to do with supporting the membranous sheath around the central nervous system and all that. Don't you know, Ruth? And uh, go girl. So it turns out that this idiot, this moronic filth, this horrifying excuse for a man, is drugging that lady with something that could kill her. Yeah, she could leak. He could give her Viagra thinking it's going to make her receptive to sex. He's apparently also using Spanish fly and GHB and possibly scopolamine as well, because he said sometimes he just blows in her face, which is a code name or code idiom for putting scopolamine in someone's body. So I think there's maybe 4 different drugs: GHB, Viagra, scopolamine, and Viagra, all being put into this woman without her permission. And yes, the police have been informed. Oh boy, have they ever been informed at the top of my lungs. Because she is one of the best people I've ever had the privilege to know, and I'm going to try to protect her with every single thing I've got. Because the guy that she's living with, not romantically, but just as a platonic roommate, is drugging her with something that could kill her. It could cause all the cerebrospinal fluid to leak out of her nose. And the reason we know that she is having that particular phenomenon occur is because when he did drug her on November the 5th, from what I understand, she said she leaked spinal fluid out of her nose for about 5 days. So she's not dead yet. Over and over, you see these horrifying side effects from these rape drugs. Kidney damage. Do you know that Spanish fly is a poison? It only has aphrodisiac effects temporarily because the body engorges capillaries and trying to flush that garbage out of a person's body. The body reacts in a way as if it has been poisoned, because it has, and that causes capillary engorgement, and there's a temporary aphrodisiac effect, but the longer term effect is permanent liver and kidney damage. And people have been dosed with Spanish fly without their knowledge, permission, not even knowing what the heck that stuff was. I hadn't even heard the words since high school. I forgot about that garbage. And it turns out you can end up needing a kidney transplant and being on anti-rejection drugs and being very vulnerable and frail, being very, very fragile, like a really old lady, for the rest of your life, because I think some filth slime decided he or she wanted to put something in your body that you didn't want and didn't even know about. So you could end up on the kidney transplant list and in a dialysis chair for a long, long time. And it also causes death. People have died of Spanish fly. And the people you're using that surreptitiously for drug facilitated sexual assault should be tried for murder. Ketamine, rohypnol cause death. Fentanyl, the single most counting that on that one finger, a single most prevalent cause of death for people. I think it's in America right now, today, for people between the ages of 18 and I think 40 or 45, is fentanyl. And most people don't know that. But my friend Ronit Lev in San Diego, the former White House chief of medicine, and my beloved associate Summer Stephen, the district attorney in San Diego, and all those people there are working very, very valiantly to try to staunch the flow of fentanyl into this country because it's killing our children. You add up car crashes, cancer, uh, other types of drug-related deaths, murder. You add up all those other types of causes of death. Fentanyl is by far the leading cause of death for people, young people in this country right now. And I don't think a lot of people know how insidious and dangerous that garbage is. I want to cry. In memory of Connor, I want to cry. 17-year-old boy who didn't make it out of high school, even though he was brilliant and beautiful and loved. Connor White. So, given that every single drug I've researched that is frequently used for drugging people to do DFSA, they're using heroin. A police detective I know, a dear woman who's worked for Charlie Beck and Michael Moore, both directly in the administration office, said that they're using heroin. And I said I didn't think heroin would make a person completely sedated and unconscious to do the SA part. And she said, oh, yeah, enough heroin will knock you out. You'd be unconscious. It slows down the heart so much. That's why it kills you. Heroin kills you by slowing down your heart rate so much. And she said, the difference between enough heroin to make you unconscious so they can rape you and the difference between enough heroin to kill you is an infinitesimal amount. So they have to give you so much heroin to make you, basically hospital level anesthetically sedated, to knock you out so they can abuse you and assault you and commit completely unholy acts and violate every sacrament that I know of. And then, they don't care that they may have overdosed you and left you for dead. I know people who've suffered. I mean, I've been in this for 15 years, people, and I know people who've suffered horribly and will never be the same physiologically or otherwise because of this kind of thing happening to them. Every single rape drug can kill. And I am going to be informing you in detail of the deadly side effects of these things. Liver damage, all kinds of tissue damage, cancer. Do you know that some of these rape drugs can actually cause cancer? Well, I think it's really darn strange that one of the people who has confessed to me repeatedly within the last year that he has been committing drug facilitated sexual assault had a wife who had a brain tumor and things like that and fought cancer for 5 years. He could actually be giving women cancer with his DFSA. But I don't think he's going to be around to help them go to the doctor and get them, pick them up from brain cancer surgery when they get cancer because he can't figure out how to keep his stuff in his pants and be a real man. I hate these people. I utterly and absolutely am going to get these drugs listed codified federally. At first I was thinking, let's just do California. And then I thought, no, let's codify these new laws that I'm going to ask our representatives to present and approve of and give to the President Biden to sign. But what I'm going to want, and I hope that you all will sign the petition so that they can be given to members of the federal government as well as state representatives and governors, President Biden and Kamala Harris, the vice president. And what we're going to do is you and I, if you're a good person, are going to make it so illegal in this country with such severe, harsh penalties for drugging someone without their knowledge or permission. Boom. Whether the rape occurs or not, whether they participate in the rape, whether they drug the person or someone else. If you put things like scopolamine or hypnol, ketamine, Spanish fly, Viagra, any of this garbage, any of this hideous trash, if you put this kind of garbage in someone's body, you're going to be charged, convicted, and imprisoned and fined for reckless endangerment and attempted murder, because it absolutely is reckless endangerment and it's attempted murder. So DFSA is always, always, always going to be charged along with attempted murder. Yeah. And reckless endangerment. So we can get these people in jail where they can just have at each other because they are truly the lowest forms of life on the planet. And people, we need to cull our herd. More later. I'm just getting started.